Let me compliment the Finance Minister for a speech that has a clear and precise articulation of the challenges facing our economy and country, including for the first time a mention of the endemic phenomenon of corruption. So my colleagues have spoken about various aspects of the budget, so let me just quickly speak only about the issues of governance. In the budget speech, sir, the Finance Minister said, and I quote, "We have to seize in these developments," and he was referring to these instances of corruption, "the opportunity to improve our regulatory standards and administrative practices. Corruption," he said, "is a problem that we have to fight collectively," end quote. So I agree with him, and so will the rest of the House. But sir, corruption is not the problem, but rather corruption, nepotism and special interests are symptoms of a deep-rooted malaise in our governance system that is threatening to dismantle and derail the concept of public life and democratic governance that our founding fathers had envisioned. Sir, the need to usher in better governance is not an academic issue, nor is it only about morality or probity in public life. Good governance has very tangible benefits in terms of money. It improves the fiscal position of governments and allows them to spend more on the needy in the country. It also creates a far more sustainable and prolonged growth cycle by creating a better investment environment. A good example of the benefits of good governance, sir, is the recent windfall of 1,40,000 crores that accrued to the government through the 3G auction, despite pressure and lobbying from many quarters, including business leaders. This 1,40,000 crores, sir, represented 14% of the total budget outlay, which the Finance Minister himself has recognized has helped in the faster fiscal consolidation last year. Sir, let me draw the attention of the House to very interesting language in the economic survey authored by the Finance Minister's economic advisor, Shri Kaushik Basu, and I quote, "For India to develop faster and to do better as an economy, it is important to foster the culture of honesty and trustworthiness." It also states, "Hence, to cut down on corruption and pilferage, we have to design policies in such a way that there is no incentive for ordinary citizens and the enforcers of the law to cheat," end quote. So the problems of governance arise from the issue of unfettered discretion. Unfettered administrative discretion in dealing with public assets and unfettered administrative discretion in doling out government contracts and spending with very little oversight, and if there is oversight, failure and compromise of the oversight institutions like independent regulators, leading to repeated instances of public policy and regulatory capture by vested interests. Sir, the current telecom scam is such an example of compromised regulators, public policy captures by vested interests, and administrative discretion being used to the fullest to benefit some private interests. Sir, let me propose the solutions as well. The solutions are obvious. The Finance Minister must usher into the government a value for money culture, a culture that reinforces the truth that government is only a trustee of public money and assets. The spending of this money and the handling of public assets must always pass the test of national good and not the misuse public interest argument that's often used to give scarce national assets to private interests. So I would propose a 4-point strategy for the Finance Minister to counter corruption. Firstly, sir, statutory disclosures by all government departments on all commercial decisions. Disclosures are the best way to keep government departments honest. Knowing that their financial decisions are available for the media and people to scrutinize is a great way to encourage honesty. Secondly, sir, more effective finance ministry oversight on all commercial decisions relating to spending, contracts and public assets. Thirdly, sir, increased use of technology for ensuring better disclosure and expenditure management, and the budget refers to TAGUP's report, and I would recommend that the expenditure information system recommended by the TAGUP be implemented. And fourthly, sir, a relook at this whole concept of independent regulatory institutions. Sir, let me dwell a little bit on the last issue of regulators, which the Finance Minister has touched on in his speech, and the Prime Minister also spoke about last year. In recent years, sir, independent regulators have become parking spots for retired bureaucrats. Independent regulators should not and cannot be another layer of bureaucracy. We must create motivated, public service-oriented and specialist people who want to serve as independent regulators. So telecom is a classic example where poorly equipped or people with questionable integrity were put as regulators, and they have presided over the public policy captured by vested interests. The Supreme Court has also recently said that the CVC need not be chosen from retired bureaucrats. Creating a set of regulatory institutions is one of the most important requirements of delivering governance and improving the state of governance. And in the words of a contemporary Indian historian, I quote, we have to repair one by one the institutions that we have inherited and build new ones to help meet the challenges of the coming years. So let me end by addressing two specific budget requests to the Finance Minister. So the service tax on health service providers has had the consequent impact of raising health costs across the board by 5%. This, in a country where health delivery by the public health system is still very patchy, this service tax is being increasingly referred to as misery tax. I accept the basic logic of ensuring all services come under service tax, but I would urge you, sir, this year to exempt this health service from the service tax till such time that the government is able to target and exempt the poor from this additional cost. So lastly, before I conclude, the issue of one rank, one pension, sir, for our veterans. I feel disappointed that as a nation we are seeing a need to have this discussed in Parliament at all, sir. These proud men and their families have served their nation selflessly with a certain belief that the nation and the people will look after them when it comes to their turn to be looked after. At a time when there are visible signs of crony capitalism and hundreds of thousands of crores of largesse and benefits being given to vested interests, how can we look into the eyes of these veterans and deny them the legitimate demand quoting budgetary constraint? I would urge the Finance Minister, sir, let not a few hundred crores come in the way of our duty to help these men and their families. I hope the Finance Minister and the Defence Minister will respond to this plea. Sir, thank you, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Chandrasekhar ji, especially for adhering to the time. Thank you very much.